Jamie Nye and Glenn Suter with you here on the Green Zone. And due to some scheduling issues, we always make time and maneuver around for the Premier of the province. So he joins us now right here as Premier Wall is with us. Congratulations, Premier, by jumping on the back last week of Darryl Pazlowski, the Premier of Yukon Territory, for a perfect 4-for-4 week.
And I think you went 4-0 as well. Just for the record, I would have made all those picks as well. I think Premier Pazlowski would. He'd confirm that.
I picked Toronto last week, so
missed
it by a point.
Missed it by a point.
Missed it by a
point. Well, I do have to thank Darryl. We've talked about this before. It shouldn't surprise anyone. He knows his football. He's from Yorkton, Saskatchewan, Canada originally, and of course he's a huge Rider fan. I know that Premier Gibbs made some commitments on this particular program as well last week, which he's going to be keeping, and he's full on a Rider fan. He's got a little 1-year-old guy named Jack who's in Rider gear regularly. So we're going to convert the premiers one at a time, with the exception of a few. We got to understand that.
Yeah, good luck with the Premier of Alberta. That should be fun.
Or the Premier of British Columbia.
Yeah, I think he can sway that one. I think that could happen.
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Not happening. Hey, can I ask a question about the Labor Day game? By the way, I watched it on TSN2 last night. Which was great because I was lucky enough to be there, but it's always good to watch it on TV and get the call. Nice work, Suits.
Oh, thank you.
But so here's the thing, I didn't hear a lot of talk about it. We did listen to your guys' fight/debate, which it was pretty good, by the way. That's good radio. It was a good back and forth, and that it was a good debate. But what about the chick play where I forget whoever the right tackle is for the Bombers? I forget who that is. Moves, chick comes across and hits him. I mean, that's his job. The guy across from you moves. Was that the unnecessary roughness, or was it the melee that ensued, or what's your understanding, Glenn, of what that call was?
Yeah, I think, first of all, Chick can definitely go out and continue through as if he felt like the play was live. I think what happened was it became excessive when he drove the player into the ground, and that's where they reacted, and then
that was my favorite part.
Yeah, yeah. I know for Rider fans, I'm sure they love that, but I think that's just where if they just collide and then he realizes there's no play and he turns around and walks away, there's likely no fight and no penalties because he hits him, carries through, drives him to the ground, basically pile drives him to the ground, then it becomes excessive.
So it's how he finished the play. It wasn't on because there was a bit of shoving around after that. But you think, okay, that answers that question. I
thought when the underneath, I thought Chick, I don't know, he had him by the neck or what was going on. He looked like John Chick had his arm pinned on the chest or the head of that player, not letting him up. Could have also been the flag. It was, it's the trenches. We all know it gets a little grimy down there at times. So, Premier Wall, you're watching the game on TSN2 last night.
Right.
What did you think of the two pass interference challenges in that game?
You know what? Here, this is going to be a politician answer, so full disclosure and apologies in advance. I agree with both of you, and here's why. I'm not comfortable with this rule. I think it has the chance to do all of the things, Jamie, that you have ascribed to it already, that you've attributed to it doing already. But Glenn was making his points about, all right, well, the games aren't any longer, and so, those things might happen, but I'm not sure they've happened yet. So but just to be more definitive, I would rather we not have it. I just would rather we not have it. Now, the next time it goes in favor of the Riders, I reserve the right to completely flip-flop.
Oh, yeah, because that, and believe me, Michael O'Shea, the head coach in Winnipeg, is the same way. I mean, he was uneasy, uncomfortable with it out of the gate, guys, and then he's been successful on 3 challenges, 2 of which turned into touchdowns for him, and all of a sudden he's thinking, this is not a bad idea. By the way, I called the head of officiating in the break, and I talked to Glenn Johnson briefly, and here's the official numbers. The games are longer by 1 minute, exactly. The goal is 3 hours. The games are going 2 hours and 56 minutes, and that's 1 minute longer than last year. The theory behind that is that we are now reviewing turnovers, which we didn't do automatically in the past.
Right.
So that's extending the time, and penalties are up by about 25%, which is also increasing the time. In nowhere did he mention it had anything to do with pass interference.
Of course he wouldn't, because pass interference challenges are his baby. He's going to completely ignore that they've been an abject failure and a waste of time.
Glenn, I don't think Jamie is interested in the ends of any of your sentences. I'm almost positive. But it does make for a good debate. Although, how about the Green Zone? Kudos to a show that has a host that just calls the head of officiating and gets the facts during commercial break. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't want to bother Glenn at this time of night, but I said, hey, this is getting heated, if you don't mind. And he said, no problem, and he sent me back the stats. So anyway, I
imagine this is Glenn looked at his phone and went, Suits, now what do you want?
You know what? It's nice to know also that there's some, I know this debate didn't happen in a bar room, but it's kind of one of those good sort of sports lounge discussions that we lament have now all been rendered far too short because you just look it up on your smartphone. You just look it up on Google. This is one of those good old-fashioned arguments that, well, Glenn's got access to the head of officiating, but without that, you couldn't have gone to Google for it. That's kind of nice.
We got to get to the picks. We do got to get to the picks. But on Monday's show, on the Labor Day weekend, I don't know if Premier Wall, you heard it or not, but of course the Derek Carr era is starting in Oakland. So
I heard about it. I heard he lit it up against 7 of the regular starters in the Seahawks defense.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns in one half. So we were going through the 18 quarterbacks between Gannon and now Derek Carr.
Right.
How many can the Premier name of starting quarterbacks in Oakland?
Gosh, since Rich Gannon?
Since Rich Gannon to Derek Carr. 18 of them.
I can. There's some I'd like to forget. Jamarcus Russell being at the top of that list, perhaps. That's really hard. Obviously, Carson Palmer not very long ago, and last year we had Matt Flynn for a cup of coffee, and then Pryor was in there. And before Matt Flynn, we had that was Carson Palmer's era, but I think he got hurt for a couple of games, and I have no recollection of who that was. It is. We need more time on the show.
Bruce Gradkowski was among them,
right?
You also had. They took the list down over the last 20. I wasn't on the show yesterday. They took the list down on me. Rick Meyer was in there.
Rick Meyer, that's right.
Dante Culpepper, Aaron Brooks, Kerry Collins was in there. It was the quarterbacking graveyard that has been Oakland.
It's all going to change.
And also, now we can bring on Gary Nickel and the graveyard that have been his picks.
Speaking of, hey? First of all, hey.
Gary, let's throw the Jets-Raiders game in this week to give him, you know what, and I'll pick the Raiders. I have my doubts, but I'll pick the Raiders just to give Gary a chance to come back, and I'm assuming he'd pick the Jets.
Mr. Premier, I first want to call you out. I would like you to be tested for PEPs, that's performance-enhancing premiers. You can't just have other guys making picks for you. It's just not fair in any way.
I've had a 4-0 week before it. Lightning has struck a couple times.
Well, that's true. I have too, but we don't all brag about it all the time, do we? I would like Glenn Suter to make my picks.
Glenn Suter doesn't make picks. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. I'm just saying if that's the game we're playing now, guys.
All right, tell you what. I did have a premier that helped me with my picks last week. Gary, I will make your picks this week.
Oh, that's just what I need. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's kind of
wow.
Well, let's see.
I will take the Jets, by the way.
Yes,
all right.
I'm taking the Raiders. Derek Carr era starts now. As I said, Oakland Raiders I've said this for a wild card team this year. Ooh. The Oakland Raiders. I don't think they're going to pass the Broncos. Wild card team.
Looked at their schedule's pretty rough. I think they travel to Qatar and then Belgium for games this year.
Oh, gee.
It's pretty crazy.
And you also have to remember this is David Carr's brother, right?
Yeah.
The first overall pick for Houston, the most sacked man on
But
earth.
he's the younger brother.
Yeah.
And the younger brothers are always the most talented. Just ask my older brothers.
I have 2 older ones that will totally agree with that as well,
absolutely.
I'm sure.
There you go. Let's get to the picks this week as a couple of Labor Day rematches in there, but we start the week on Friday, the BC Lions at Ottawa, Premier Wall.
Mindful of the time, Lions.
Yes, taking the West as well because Jamie Nye told me to, Lions.
You're not going to fail taking the West versus the East as we're going with BC. I don't have Fake Gainers picks in front of me, but I'll update that a little later on. The rematch in Edmonton, the Stampeders The Eskimos. Gary, you can go. We always make
Gary.
the Premier go
sorry.
first.
Yeah, sorry. No, yeah,
So,
Gary,
Gary, you can go first.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Stamps this time, learning from my mistakes last week.
So,
I
Gary,
like the Stamps. I also like their signature uniforms, and I think the best signature uniforms so far are the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
they're up there.
Those Stamps helmets were beauty, though.
Those Stamps helmets are pretty sweet.
Awesome.
I'm also going with the...
They pulled it off where the Jaguars did not. But sorry, Jamie, you're going with the Stamps.
Yeah, going with the Stamps. But the thing with the I like is they have the design lines in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a blank color on color. They have the design lines and the mirrored Stampeder logo. Very creative. I think
that. I think Reebok's tuning in and taking notes on what we think of the uniforms. I'm pretty sure. Almost positive.
They're getting better until the Eskimos announced theirs yesterday.
I haven't seen theirs yet.
Oh, they don't look much different than what they're wearing now, other than they have the double E on the front of the chest, and that's
AKA,
all.
they're gross.
I'll just call the head of officiating and see if he can send me a
Premier Wall. I'll start. Hamilton, Montreal. I'm going to go with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Premier Wall.
Also, that was a good segment with Pop. That was really good. But I'm going to go with the Tie Cats.
I am going to take Mr. Pop and his Owls.
And finally, the Banjo Bowl. And I had to ask, people are asking me, are you going to play the banjo this year, Premier Wall?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to make a video. I'm not going to look at a banjo. I've had very clear, explicit directions from Rider Nation about what I should do with the banjo. So there will be nothing. Done.
It's a good political move right there.
Yeah,
yes.
Well done.
Yeah. And so how about you there, Big King?
Oh, I'm taking the Bombers. They owe me again. They've owed me all year, so I'll take them again.
All right.
I'm going
sorry, Jamie.
I was just going to say the Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to run over them again on their way to another win.
Well, I don't think they were ran over.
And we got a side pod on the Jets Raiders. Is that right?
Yep. We got New York Jets by Gary, and of course myself and the Premier going with our Raiders, the silver and black, on their way to a wild card.
I'll tell you what, guys. I don't make picks, but I'm picking the Premier.
Oh, all right.
Like for overall, everything?
No, yeah, I'm picking them this week. As far as I'm listening to all the different picks, I'm taking the Premier.
Well, always take the leader. That's a good move.
So
thanks, 27. Thank you, sir.
So I picked the same picks as the Premier did. I guess I really ticked Suits off on the pass interference thing.
You guys aren't friends anymore. It's over. The breakup.
That's Premier's picks. Enjoy the football this weekend, Premier Wall. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, fellas. Take care.